Are you thinking about moving to the Oregon coast? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about how we can help with that. So stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from the Oregon coast. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how we help people relocate to the Oregon coast, in particular from out of state. Moving anywhere, from one state to another can be a really big task, right? Because you don't spend a lot of time in these areas necessarily. These aren't places like the back of your hand. These aren't places that, you know what's around every corner. So when you're relocating from out of state to the Oregon coast, you want to be able to make sure that you are looking into and ultimately moving to a region, an area, a town, a neighborhood that fits you best. Now, luckily on the Oregon coast, you'll get a lot of similarities from town to town. So you could be somewhere all the way up north, or you could be on the central Oregon coast, or you could be on the southern Oregon coast and enjoy a lot of the similar benefits, from town to town, and a lot of the things that bring people to the Oregon coast, the small towns, the natural beauty, of course, the ocean, the beaches, all of the things that come along with that. So either way, there's going to be a lot of variety and a lot of options as far as larger towns, some bigger towns, some more medium-sized towns, and some really, really small towns. So again, moving to the Oregon coast from out of state can feel like an uphill battle. We've actually done a video about that. I'll link to that up here. But in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how we approach this process and how we ultimately help people, and how we've helped so many people move from out of state to the Oregon coast, or even from other parts of Oregon, Western Oregon, Southern Oregon, over to the coast. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, or you've been here and you haven't already, and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people relocate to Oregon and move to the Oregon coast, and as real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to the Oregon coast. So it's been a really busy week. I'm actually just shooting this video from my car because I have been on the road a ton. I've been in Astoria, I've been in Lincoln City doing showings. Today I drove to Gold Beach for an inspection, and then up to Depot Bay to look at a couple of houses there. And that's one of the things that really I think you'll find unique about working with myself or Seth, the Home Team Brokers on the Oregon coast, is we'll go anywhere. We work the entire Oregon coast, and a lot of people moving from out of state, like we talked about, they're presented with all these options and this vast region, 363 miles of coastline, that present a lot of really great options. And they might really like one town, that is on the northern Oregon coast. They really might like a town that's on the southern Oregon coast, 4 or 5 hours away in some cases, at least if you're driving on 101. So that's what we do. We go to these towns, we tell people more about what living in these towns is like, what you can find here, the amenities, the lifestyle, the culture, the proximity to the what's around you, and actually go open doors, go take a look at properties that look interesting, and then carry out the process from there. So let's talk a little bit more about that process. So again, most people moving to the Oregon coast have an idea of what type of town they're looking for. They might even have one or a few towns that sound interesting, that seem like candidates for where they could be moving to. So really the first thing that anybody should do if they're thinking about moving to the Oregon coast is hop on a video call with us, and we can talk more about your timeline, your budget, the needs, the wants, the must-haves, where you can make exceptions as well, so we can start to narrow things down at least a little bit. But again, if you're interested in a town up north and maybe a town on the central coast, for example, that's totally fine. We can explore it all with you. We want to make sure that you end up in a place that you feel most comfortable with and really checks the boxes for you. So on that initial conversation, we want to hear your story. We want to hear about where you're coming from, where you've been, and ultimately where you want to go, and put our heads together to start talking about areas that really would be the best candidates for you, and then talk about what type of properties you're looking for, as well as your budget too. So a lot of towns on the Oregon coast, yes, and a decent amount of variety as far as what you can get, but taking into account the type of property you're looking for and the budget is going to narrow things down by default a little bit as well, because some towns are going to be a lot more expensive than others. Some towns are going to be a lot more affordable than others, and there's going to be some places that kind of fall in that messy middle somewhere. So being able to determine, okay, what town is going to check the boxes for you, but also what town is actually going to present opportunities for you as far as homes that meet the criteria that you're looking for. We can accomplish all of that as far as having that discussion and starting to narrow things down on that initial conversation, then also over the course of the coming days and weeks leading up to the time where, we might want to get more serious about actually going to look at properties. And that's the next piece in this. Once we've had that introduction and had those conversations and exchanged notes on towns and properties that might look interesting, we're going to start scheduling some tours. Now, the best thing that anybody can do relocating from out of state or other parts of Oregon, wherever it may be, other parts of the country or out of the country, people coming from all around the world, is plan a trip to the Oregon coast. Make sure you can allocate enough days to cover enough ground relative to the areas that you're interested in seeing. A lot of people drive over, fly over, and they start in Astoria or they start in Brookings and they span the entire coastline over the course of a week or whatever it may be. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that, especially if there's really just one town or one region or just a couple of different towns that look interesting to you, but everybody's circumstance is different, right? And as far as how much time they can take, getting out and exploring. But if you can do that, even if it's over the course of a weekend, spending some time in one or a couple of different towns that you like, there's not going to be a substitute for doing that. As far as, of course, we want to be able to give you as much information as we can about what living in these towns is like, but being able to visit, spend some time here, is really going to give you as clear a picture as possible as far as what these places are actually like and what it's going to actually be like living on the Oregon coast. Now, again, for some people that's not feasible. If you are able to do that trip, typically we want to schedule some showing so we can at least start going through that process. But either way, once we get far enough along, we're further along in the timeline, we want to start looking at some homes. So we'll identify properties that look interesting. We'll do a little bit of digging. We can call the listing agent. We can ask about the seller's motivation, find out more about the property. Are there any red flags? Does it really check all of the boxes for you? Do a little bit of research and then put together a list of homes to actually go take a look at. And again, it doesn't have to be all homes in the same town. I mean, you can like some houses in Astoria, you can like some houses in Florence, you can like some houses in Coos Bay, and we're going to find a way to go check them all out. And ideally, we can do a FaceTime or a Zoom call, some kind of video call, and actually walk through the properties together. We can also take videos and photos, a combination of those things, and send those to you so you can refer back to them after we've had that walkthrough as well, just to really get a full idea of what this property is actually like, because the photos obviously can only tell so much, or you can only tell so much rather from the photos, right? So once we're able to get inside a house, we can really get a closer eye on things, give it the sniff test, so to speak, turn on the water, look around the exterior, look at the yard, look at the roof, look at the systems, plumbing, hot water heater, a furnace, if there's a furnace there, or what the heat source is, whatever it may be. We can, investigate those things a little bit further and, again, really get a clear picture. Now, again, just like, being able to get out and visit in person, nothing is going to be a substitute for you actually walking through the home. So if you can swing it, if we can find time to schedule tours and go walk through properties together, that's awesome. But I think we can get about 80%, 85% of the way there, doing that video walkthrough. And we've helped so many people buy homes, from a distance, not necessarily sight unseen, because again, we're kind of looking into this together and we'll be there physically to take a look at it. But it typically does, again, get you far enough as far as feeling comfortable about a property to where if it is the one, if it looks like it's interesting, if it looks like something you want to move forward on, I think we'll have enough information to do that. And we're totally comfortable helping people, write that offer, even if they aren't there in person necessarily. So honestly, that's what we spend a ton of our time doing is, covering a ton of ground, a lot of windshield time, a lot of time in the car. That's okay. We love it. Going out and checking out properties for our clients. And so, that's something that I think really does set us apart a little bit. I don't want this to be too much of a sales pitch necessarily, so much as just letting people know who are interested in moving to the Oregon coast, how we operate, what our process is like, so they can know what to expect, or so you can know what to expect going into this, once we start to engage with each other. But again, being able to cover so much ground and walk through so many properties, again, that don't have to necessarily be in all in the same town, that's something that you're definitely going to get from us. Now, moving along in the process, eventually there's going to be a property that's going to be the one, or there's going to be several candidates, if we're lucky, but we can only write one offer at a time. So once we find the property that really fits the bill, we'll call up the listing agent, we'll get all the details we need, we'll come up with a fair offer that we feel like is fair to you, the buyer, but also will be acceptable to the seller. If they don't accept it, they might counteroffer. We might have some negotiating going on before an offer gets accepted. Depending on the circumstance, depending on what you want to do as far as an offer price, and some of the other details that we can fill in, once we get to that point, obviously. But once we find that property that looks like it's the one, we'll write up an offer, get that offer accepted. Typically, homes are closing within 30 days. That's the average. We'll write up a contract with a 30-day contract period. Now, if you're buying cash, we can close in 7 to 10 days, just so long as we have enough time to do our inspection. But either way, once an offer is accepted right out of the gate, we're going to book your inspection, any necessary inspections. So there's a whole home inspection, right? But if you have a septic tank or a well, we're going to get special inspectors to come look at those systems specifically. Based on the findings of the inspection, we'll be able to negotiate with the seller potentially on repairs or a credit to you at closing that could cover your closing costs, or potentially buy down your interest rate if you're financing too. So there's a lot of things that we can do based on the findings of the inspection to get a little bit creative to see where we can ultimately get you as good a deal as possible on the property that you're buying. But we take care of all of this, really from start to finish. And we're here to guide you along the way, answer any questions you have throughout the process, and really make this as easy and smooth as a process as possible for you. That's our entire goal. Again, especially for people like so many that we're working with and have worked with that are relocating from out of state, because buying a house, regardless, even if it's a house down the street from you, there's so many unknowns and it can feel pretty overwhelming at times. So if you're coming from out of state, right, a lot of those things are amplified as far as maybe feeling a little bit anxious about it, or just feeling like there's something that you need to be doing that you're not doing, whatever it may be. Again, we're here to guide that process, every step of the way. So if you are looking for some answers, whether it's about an area, whether it's about homes on the Oregon coast, whether it's about the process of buying a home at the Oregon coast, and more specifically, how we operate and how we can help you find success in purchasing a home at the Oregon coast, whatever it may be, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to the Oregon coast. And if this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.